the CHGO White Sox post-game show, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, the full CHGO White Sox crew. That is CHGO White Sox beat writer Vinny Duber. You can follow him at Vinny Duber and read his work at allchgo.com. The man in the middle, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him at Ectorwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. You can follow the show at CHGO_White Sox. And we're being produced today by our producer, Sarah.
Hi.
Hello. And we are excited to come to you live after another White Sox loss. They lose 3-2 against the Rangers, and if it wasn't for an Andrew Benintendi home run in the ninth inning, the White Sox probably would have gone down being retired 19 in a row. There wasn't a hit from the top of the third to the bottom of the eighth, and thankfully...
In the game.
Completely.
That's the Rangers, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Bottom of the eighth, Marcus Semien had a single. He had the last hit in the game prior to that, so bottom of the third to the bottom of the eighth was the true stretch there. But Andrew Benintendi coming through in the ninth inning with his 8th homer of the season.
Here we go.
I believe he is now hitting 199 on the year, but he has 8 home runs. So congratulations, Herb. You seem to be on the right side of history. I'm going to do everything in my power to jinx him.
I mean, it's 59 games. If you can't get 2 home runs in 59 games, I might be more of a hater of Andrew Benintendi than you are currently.
I stopped hating. That's a waste of energy. Well, he's going to be here for 3 more years. I know the White Sox don't want him to be. Is he?
Is he? I know he won't.
I don't know. I'm asking you. Is he?
He won't survive the full 3 years. He'll be here for at least 2 more years, and that last year it'll be DFA territory.
I don't know about that.
I mean, by that time he'll not be good, and if the White Sox are going to be entertaining trading Crochet and Robert, they think they won't be good in 3 years. So I think he'll be gone.
I think back to a time. There was 91 games, was it? No, not 91 games. I was wrong on that. There was 65 games to start Andrew Benintendi's career where he didn't have a homer. So I'm hoping that he relives his start with the Chicago White Sox and just goes on a cold streak there. We'll mostly be talking today about Garrett Crochet. He started this game for the Chicago White Sox. We also have some video from Brian Bannister, who spoke with the Chicago media, Vinny included, and we will get into that. It's about 16 minutes, and then we'll talk about Yohan Moncada and Mike Clevenger, who were supposed to be on rehab assignments, but both have had minor delays in their own rights. Let's talk, though, about Crochet. 4 innings of work for Crochet, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, 74 pitches for Crochet. What did we make of this start for Crochet?
He was good, but he wasn't out there very long, and I guess he wasn't probably as good and as dominant as folks are used to seeing him. I do think he, ended up with a decent number of strikeouts. But, Sean, you were going over some of the, StatCast data during the game, and maybe the stuff wasn't quite as electric as we've seen in the past. The pitch count certainly got up there. He was at 74 pitches, even though he only pitched 4 innings. And then, obviously, in that first inning, gives up a few hits and turns into what turned out to be enough runs to basically to win the game. Like you said there, obviously the White Sox did end up scoring a second run in the 9th inning. But Crochet, obviously the focus around him is going to be on one of 2 things: the workload and what team he's going to be playing for a week from, I guess, today. The trade line is a week from today. So by a week from tomorrow, what team is he going to be playing for? And how will that workload factor in to any trade that might or might not happen? I think we're seeing the White Sox really, follow through on what they said, which is throttling back on his workload here as they move deeper into the second half. The team still kind of, is adamant about, and Brian Bannister will talk about it in some of the video that we play later, but adamant about it's going to every day be based on what Garrett Crochet can give and how he's pitching, not necessarily, all right, you hit this number of pitches, you're done, or you hit this number of innings, you're done. It's how hard is he working, right? And I think a lot of times this year, we've seen him go out and have outings where it has looked easy. He's put together some really quick innings, and it's been able to get him deep into games. When you have an inning like he did in the first where he's got some guys on base, or when things aren't necessarily as sharp and he needs more pitches to retire each and every batter, then it becomes a situation where his outing is probably going to be pretty brief no matter what the game situation kind of says it's going to be. And so these kind of things, if he remains on the White Sox, these kind of nights like you saw tonight are probably going to become a lot more common. You look at what he's done so far this month, 4 innings against the Marlins, 2 innings against the Pirates. He threw 1 inning in the All-Star game, and now just 4 innings against the Rangers tonight. He's yet to go more than 4 innings in a game in July, which is crazy to think considering he's been, by some measures, the best pitcher in baseball this year. So it's going to be very, very interesting to follow along how the White Sox continue to use him, but the White Sox might not get the opportunity to continue to use him if they do manage to pull off a trade, which, of course, there's a lot of rumors surrounding Garrett Crochet between now and a week from now.
Yeah, it looked like the Rangers initially, they're just attacking fastball because Garrett Crochet's around the plate, and he's going to be throwing mostly fastballs, and that's what former White Sox great Robbie Grossman did. A single there. I think the third guy got a hit, a single, and then he strikes out Langford. You get the hit, RBI single by Adolis Garcia, and then they pull off the double steal, which irritates the hell out of me because it's a little league play, and this has been done to the White Sox, and the White Sox have done it to another team this year, where the runner at first base, there's 2 outs at this time, it was Adolis Garcia, delayed steals to second, and he stops like 10 to 20 feet away from the bag, trying to get himself into a rundown, and then the runner from third, Josh Smith, easily goes home. Nicky Lopez fakes like he's throwing home because he can't get him out, and then Adolis Garcia gets the second. So they don't even get the out that the Rangers were kind of conceding to them there, and so it's not Crochet's fault that happens there. That's more of a why did Corley throw down there? Why didn't Nicky Lopez just tag Adolis Garcia and just concede the out there type of thing? And so I understand what they're doing with Garrett Crochet, but it's still frustrating as a White Sox fan to see a great pitcher that is Garrett Crochet not pitching as a starter the minimum 5 innings. It looked like he was fine when he left the game in 74 pitches, but I understand why they're doing it. They're trying to get him through the season either with the White Sox or, as Granny said, with another team. So it's understanding, but it's begrudging understanding because I want to see good pitchers pitch more. And if he can pitch more without risking himself to be hurt, I would love to see that a little bit more.
We appreciate everyone in the chat. Make sure you are hitting the thumbs up button if you haven't just yet. To answer some of the questions, Fred's saying, is this the third 9-game losing streak this year? I could be counting wrong. I did go to a Southside Irish high school. We, math is, tough. Anyways, bad joke. They had a 14-game losing streak that we were recounting earlier, and this is the 8th straight loss. So
tonight was 9.
9 today.
Yeah. Was it?
Yeah.
They got swept. They got swept by the Pirates to end the first half, and they have lost the first 5 in the second half.
8, 9. See, this is why I shout out Brother Ice. I can't count. So yeah, this is, I believe, the second 9-game losing streak. I don't think any other losing streak got over 6 besides the 14-game losing streak.
Okay.
But just to address the comments there. Crochet, Sarah, if you want to flash the graphic that Vinny was talking about, the StatCast data, he was still effective. I mean, 7 strikeouts in 4 innings. You would obviously want to see more, and we'll hear on why we're not seeing more from Brian Bannister about Garrett Crochet. But the one thing that did scare me was there was a pitch in that final inning where it seemed like he slipped a little bit, and it was 92 miles per hour, and you could see just those last 4 four-seamers are kind of down. There is that one that spikes up a little bit, but it did feel like Garrett, I don't know, was tripped up a little bit, for lack of a better word. I don't know if this is something to be worried about. I don't know if this was just accidental, but he was overall down on the season on his average mile per hour, about 0.8 miles per hour, so nearly a mile per hour difference on his fastball than a typical Garrett Crochet outing. So again, this is why there is that concern, and this is why, I don't know, you see the Bob Nightingale, and I'm a big follower of Vinny Duber's trade tracker at allchgo.com, and it's funny to see on July 21st, team reportedly looking for a bigger package than top 75 prospect Spencer Jones. Well, thank you very much, Bob Nightingale. But I scrolled down just a little bit, and here is Vinny Duber saying on July 14th, team reportedly covets top prospect Spencer Jones in any Garrett Crochet deal with the Yankees. I'm having concerns, and maybe it's not really a concern, but do you think that Chris Getz might be balking at the idea of trading Garrett Crochet? We've talked that, when it comes down to it, we don't really know if he will or will not be a White Sox. I feel like if the next week after you're saying we want this guy and he's apparently being included into deals, you kind of being like, well, we don't want that guy. Like, I don't know. It seems a little wishy-washy.
Well, I don't believe that's what it said. It said they want more than that guy. And so I think we don't know what the rest of the offer, either prior to that or after it, looks like, right? And so maybe there's a world, this is entirely speculation, where the Yankees said, we don't want to give up Spencer Jones. What do you think of these 4 prospects for Garrett Crochet? And Getz says, well, I don't want to do it unless Jones is in it. And so the Yankees say, all right, Jones for Crochet, straight up. Well, that's not exactly what he was getting at. Again, that's totally a hypothetical situation. But again, we've talked so many times. I would imagine that the White Sox value Garrett Crochet incredibly highly as a top of the rotation starting pitcher who can help a team for 3 pennant races. Teams out there in baseball, the other 29 or however many are interested in acquiring Garrett Crochet at this deadline, might not see the same thing. They might see a guy who they can only use as a reliever, albeit a very effective one for multiple innings, right? Or a guy who they can only use in small doses. Maybe not that ace that we have watched Garrett Crochet be for the first half plus of this season. And so the valuations are a little different, right? Why would I give up my 2 top prospects or 3 of my 4 top prospects for a guy who I'm going to use in a bullpen role when the White Sox are saying, of course you should give me 3 of your top 4 prospects because, look, this guy might be the best starting pitcher in baseball. And I think you could argue that both of those teams would be right, that both of those positions would be correct in valuing this player the way they value them because of what the White Sox have seen and what the White Sox know about Garrett Crochet and what other teams do not know, and quite frankly, nobody knows about Garrett Crochet in terms of, is this a guy who can make a start every 5th day and throw 7 innings through the end of October? I don't think anybody can answer that question. It's strange to say that because we were making a similar point way back in February when he said he was going to first be a starting pitcher, and he's done nothing but prove that he can handle that so far. Again, that probably plays into the White Sox valuation of him. And so at the end of the day, I'm still of the opinion that I think it's likely he stays on this White Sox roster past next Tuesday because I don't know if that match can be found. Now, I think desperation cranks up by the day. Desperation cranks up when a team sees an injury or a team sees a better path to a playoff run or a run to the World Series. So who knows what happens between now and Tuesday or what has been happening on Chris Getz's cell phone. We don't have those, those aren't public data. We can't access that. But
we could try. I mean, I know people who can put in FOIA requests.
Yeah, you want a sunshine law, Chris Getz's cell phone?
We could.
I don't know if that applies.
Worth a shot.
You'd have to go in through the Sox owning the state owning the stadium probably. But yeah, it's just to find a match between those two valuations seems difficult, but we'll see what happens in the next week.
And I think too, I'm just looking at the Fangraphs numbers that Garrett Crochet still leads in F4, still leads in xERA, still leads in FIP and xFIP. That's what the White Sox should be going off of. Yes, he hasn't been a starting pitcher his whole life, but when he has this year, he's the best in the American League. You should be operating on that, not that, he might be shut down. He might be, he might not be. Today he pitched fine, even though he dipped in 1 or 2 fastballs at the end of his outing, but I think this is the White Sox protecting Garrett Crochet from himself and just protecting the arm that hasn't thrown this much. But if I'm a team that's trying to acquire him, I'm looking at the top of the Fangraphs and all the rest of the stats and saying, okay, we are acquiring this young arm that doesn't have a lot of innings on it, and I'm going to operate as if we're getting a top-of-the-rotation guy. Yes, any team would try to tamp down the offer that the White Sox really want. But the White Sox, as I've said before, are in the driver's seat in the Garrett Crochet talks and in the Luis Robert Jr. talks. They don't have to trade these players away, so they have to ask for these players. They asked for Spencer Jones, and the Yankees all right, cool, he's available. It's Spencer Jones and some more, a lot more. And I hope that it's not Spencer Jones as the headline of a Garrett Crochet trade, because I've been looking at this. I haven't looked at any games, but I've looked at the stats. I'm like, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I'll have to take scouting expert Herb Lawrence's, word. I mean, you went to Baseball Reference. You put in the scouting. I mean, that's a lot more than Steve Stone and John Trefan have done with Edgar Caro's Baseball Reference page. All right, let's take a break. Let's take a break. I want to let you know about our friends over at Indeed. They're driven by the search for better. When it comes to hiring, the best way to search for candidates isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more that you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Game Time is an authorized ticket marketing place for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater events that are near you. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I've gone to Milwaukee and bought some tickets up there, and that's exclusively what I do when I go to sporting events, is buy tickets through Game Time. And when I do, I go to all the rest of the secondary markets and see if they have a lower price in the section that I enrolled that I am sitting in. None of them do, except for the one time that I was in Atlanta. And if they do, they'll give me 110% of the difference, because Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the views from your seat before you buy, so you know what to expect exactly when you arrive to the stadium. All-in prices show you the total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal without the hitting fees. They're obsessed with finding ways to save you money on tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after that event starts. It's the place to go to find last-minute seats. And with zone deals, you pick the section, Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the Game Time guarantee, and I was just talking about, means that you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of that difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account or redeem the code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
We've been talking about Garrett Crochet's workload, which leads perfectly into today's session with Senior Advisor to Pitching, Brian Bannister, for the Chicago White Sox. Vinny Duber asks Brian Bannister what he thinks of Garrett Crochet's future workload.
Yeah, it's nice that he's had a starter history in college, and then obviously his path was accelerated to the big leagues. My primary concern was more the strike throwing. Whenever you have a heavy walk pitcher out there trying to pitch in a starting role, they tend to have very inefficient innings, higher pitch count innings, which can disrupt the flow of his starts. But really, I think the big key, and I give credit to Ethan Katz, was just recognizing that the sweeper that he's traditionally thrown was getting clipped by right-handers. They were able to pull it for power. And Garrett, the big thing was he tucks his thumb on his fastball and his sweeper. And the key, I think, was untucking the thumb on the cutter. That was kind of the breakthrough in spring training that he did on his own, because we were trying to throw a cutter holding that same tuck thumb position that you see a Max Scherzer use, for example. And once he kind of released the thumb and put it up on the side, all of a sudden the cutter took another step forward as far as pitch quality, and it wasn't getting clipped by righties. So once you saw the sweeper usage come down, the cutter usage go up. Now all of a sudden his walk rate dropped dramatically, and he wasn't giving up the home runs that he was giving up on the sweeper. And I think that just allowed him to go out there and have very clean, efficient outing. And he's such a workhorse of a pitcher. He's massive. His force production is outstanding. He has kind of the mass of a Paul Skeens, that type of a big pitcher. And so I'm not as concerned about his durability, but what I like is the ability for him to be more efficient in his innings because of that cutter. I think smooths out his the quality of his innings, and it just allows him to take a little workload off of himself where he's not throwing a ton of 25, 30 pitch innings because of higher walks, but he's able to get through some clean innings and really keep his overall volume down and recovery up.
Pedro has talked a lot about about limiting him and trying to creatively find some ways to extend his rest and stuff like that. I know Garrett says he's not a big fan of an innings count. Do you guys have a number in mind, or is it really just trying to follow him start by start and see how he's responding?
The tricky part is what we've done to pitchers is we've basically reduced their volume and increased their output. We've turned them from marathon runners into sprinters. We've turned them from, pitchers that could throw 150 pitches like my dad did back in the day to where, 105 is a dirty number now. And the human body is pretty amazing at what it can do. It's really about finding that balance between the intensity of the output and the volume they're throwing. And so I think as an industry, as we've added more layers in sports science and more people are involved, because essentially anytime a pitcher or player gets hurt, there's perceived job risk and job security at stake for people in the industry. So what that serves to do is just keep pushing pitch counts lower and lower. But I do think true workhorse pitchers that have the frame that Crochet has are able to throw more pitches more consistently and do it for a longer period of time. And I really think the key is allowing him to have an arsenal that goes out and gets outs efficiently. So I'm not as big on strategic deloads or really reducing pitch counts. I look more at how hard does a pitcher have to work to get through his outings. And I think the way that he's pitching and the efficiency of it gives him a little more leeway. But ultimately, I defer to Pedro and the medical staff. But I think as an industry, we've probably erred too much on holding pitchers back, and that can be just as detrimental. There's many case studies of organizations trying to not throw their new draft picks for the second half of the year and not having them throw at all, and it led to actually an increase in injuries. So I think we're still as an industry trying to find that balance. I think we have some creative strategies we're going to employ into year end to preserve him, given it's going to be a big jump in workload. But I think overall, I'm very bullish on him for the future and what he's going to be able to do from a volume perspective.
Yeah, I guess how does that apply to kind of the new picks with Smith and Larson and others, and in terms of you want to kind of keep them working, but also maybe they don't have the tools yet developed the way Garrett does to work through outings efficiently, where they can have some of those high stress innings that you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm always very careful. We see it more and more. You can look at the late free agent signings, the Jordan Montgomerys. I remember Alex Cobb back in the day, Greg Holland, Craig Kimbrell. Pitchers that have signed late often get off to horrible starts. And the reason is they have this big deload period where they don't want to throw because there's tens of millions of dollars at stake. And because they haven't thrown, they really never get into shape until often the second half of the year. And you're trying to avoid scenarios like that. The arm, every time you throw, it breaks down a little bit, but it elongates and stretches out. And it's actually safer for the pitcher to throw than to not throw. So I think you have to be careful of completely deloading pitchers. And really what I look to is, what have they been doing up to the draft? Are they progressively ramped up where their arm is in shape? Or did they take the time completely off once the season ended into the draft? That's a big factor. Another factor is just the medical assessment, the strength and conditioning assessment. Is there shoulder weakness? Is there elbow forearm weakness? We're trying to put all those factors into play and then put them out there and not be afraid. They are pitchers. We need them to throw. They benefit from throwing. You just don't want to elongate the season too much where their workload is way beyond anything they've done, at least with the minor league season going to the 6 days on, 1 day off format. It's a little bit of a transition between the once a week in college to the minor leagues, and then before going to every 5 days in the major leagues. So looking to have them throw, looking to have them compete, have some intent by year end, and not just completely deload them and take it off.
Hey, Brian, I think we asked you about this in Arizona, but Noah Schultz progression this year, what have you seen from overall? And I mean, how close I don't know if this is a fair question to ask, but how close do you see him to being big league ready, even at this young age?
Got the chance after the Futures game, he came out to Chicago and we got to throw a pen during the draft week. And, he's just an exciting kid because it's an XL frame. He's extremely tall. A lot of those pitchers don't develop good body control early on. You saw the Randy Johnsons of the world take extra time to get to league average walk rates, and oftentimes in their late 20s, early 30s. But he's already got great command. He controls the zone. I don't think he really understands how much he can do with his arsenal. He can generate seam effects. He was showcasing both a cutter and a seam effects changeup while we were working with him, and those are things he hasn't even fully tapped into yet. It's primarily fastball and bigger breaking ball. So it's an exciting kid, another power lefty that throws strikes, that can really spin the ball, that has the opportunity to learn about how to use the seams for later and better movement. But really a receptive kid with tremendous aptitude and self-awareness of who he is and what he needs to do out there. A hard worker. So looking forward to having a lot of these premium lefty arms on the major league pitching staff in the near future.
No, you just talked about Schultz, but whether it's Eater or Iriarte or Bush or any of these guys, you guys haven't been shy about giving some youngsters big league chances. Do you see some of these guys from this crop of pitching prospects that you have reaching the major leagues and getting a chance before the end of this season?
I personally am a big believer in getting the minor league starters into the major league bullpen at year end. It accomplishes a couple of things. One, they learn the stadium, their surroundings, their routine, the workflow, the timing of everything that happens at the major league level. Two, they get to face major league hitters with a tick better stuff because they're coming out of the pen. So you get a little velo bump, you get a little stuff plus bump in their pitch quality. And lets them get immediate feedback, not only having a little success because their stuff's a little bit better, but two, finding out, do I have platoon splits? Are they seeing a pitch a little better than the minor leaguers are? Am I tipping in any way, trying to clean that up? It's a nice little way to kind of audit a minor league pitcher and see, is he ready to be a starter in the big leagues? So that kind of experience and that kind of transition can then carry over into the offseason as far as what they work on, and then prepare them, if they are going to stay a starter, for the next major league spring training with a little time under their belt. And I've just seen over the years pitchers that go through that type of transition really have success and really feel more confident coming off of a really productive offseason and coming out and really opening eyes in major league spring training.
And then obviously Drew Thorpe, his results have been fantastic, the last 5 starts or so. What have you noticed from your standpoint about what's making him effective and what's really promising for him as he moves forward?
It's a premium changeup. We've worked on separating out. Ethan Katz has done a good job on separating his cutter and slider. There's a hidden arm action there. That was one of the things I liked. Kind of Lucas Giolito style. You see Cutter Crawford with Boston. That the hand comes out of the back of the head. It's harder to see. It's something I look for in pitchers with really, really good changeups as they hide the ball, and it doesn't give the batter additional visual information that a changeup is coming. So we can all see that the batted ball luck's been favorable so far, but to his credit, he really goes out there and wants to be an elite pitcher. He understands sequencing. He knows how to pitch. His routine in the bullpen, it looks like a 10-year veteran already. So I give him a lot of credit to his poise, his ability to execute, ability to bounce back from a bad outing, and really go out there and give us 6+ innings, which every starting pitcher is struggling to do nowadays because they're tending to get pulled so fast. So, these young rookies, they're figuring out on the fly, but to their credit, they're holding their own. And I think with Thorpe, it's the cornerstone around the changeup and the hidden arm action.
Yeah, Brian, off of that, what's impressed you about Jonathan Cannon, particularly coming back from Charlotte?
I was able to spend time with him in AAA, and the arsenal he's trying to throw is complicated. I went through that transition with Logan Webb. You see Eric Fetty make that transition going over to Korea and coming back. It's not intuitive for everybody. prioritizing the seams on the baseball above velocity or other mechanical cues. And so at all times, for a young pitcher, making sure that you're getting that late movement, the Greg Maddux, Kyle Hendricks type of movement where even if you don't have a lot of velo that day, you're able to get ground balls or weak contact or have a lot of efficient innings that allow you to go 6-7+ innings in a game. So even if you're giving up 3-4 runs, coming out of the game 7 innings later has a lot of value for your team, especially a team that is league average or better in run production. So, with the eye on the future, him getting a lot of these innings under his belt, understanding the adjustments he's got to make when he kind of loses the orientation of the seams on the baseball and he's not getting his best late movement or one of his pitch shapes is off a little bit. He's on an accelerated path, and it was a quick jump to the big leagues, particularly because he didn't pitch in this style last year, and he's made a lot of changes this year. So still able to do that, still able to go out and compete. He's a sneaky big physical pitcher. When you stand next to him, there's a lot of mass there, and he's got a great pitcher's body. And as he continues to figure out this style of pitching the way that Eric Fetty has, I think he's going to be a workhorse in the league for a long time.
Michael Kopech has obviously had plenty of outings this year where he's looked untouchable, and he's had plenty of outings this year where the opposite has been true. What have you guys kind of recognized about his evolution and kind of what he can be moving forward?
I'm really big, anybody that's followed me for a long time, in kind of bringing, except for outliers, bringing fastball usage down closer to 50%. So it's more of a coin flip. Whenever a major league hitter who's really, really good at hitting fastballs knows that a fastball is coming 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5 or even 5 out of 5 for some pitchers, they can turn around 100 miles an hour. And whether it's a pitching machine or a real human, they have no problem getting the bat to the ball. So I'm a big believer in showing your other pitches with some frequency, even if it's more to create some unpredictability with your pitch sequencing. So, Michael has elite talent. The fastball is premium, but just being able to disguise the fastball and interrupt it with some other pitches. And, he can really rip off some nice cutters, some nice bigger sliders, but just having the faith and the confidence to believe in those pitches that whether they're executed or not, they serve a purpose to set up and tunnel with his fastball and create movement in opposite directions. I think he even surprises himself sometimes when he throws what he views as a bad breaking ball, and then it ends up freezing a hitter at the top of the zone or some location that he wasn't intending, and it's still a productive out, kind of back to when he threw the immaculate inning. So there's just, I think, an ongoing maturation process with him understanding how to get the most out of his ability because he does have premium tools, and just having the confidence to go out there and throw more secondary pitches, even if they miss, but that it still serves the purpose of being more unpredictable to the hitter and keeping him off of fastball.
Do you still see one inning closer as the best role for him moving forward, or is it multi-inning reliever? Does he eventually become a guy who gets another chance to start? What do you see in terms of role for him?
I've always felt that he was an impact kind of fireman type guy where whether that highest leverage moment in the game is in the 7th inning, 8th inning, 9th inning, he can go get those outs. And I think when he's at his best, and you've seen flashes of it this year, he's completely overwhelming to major league hitters. And only a few guys in the league have that type of physical talent. And so when he's at his best, it's not per se only the 9th inning, even though I think when he's at his best, he's a bona fide closer. But it's really just getting his mix right, having confidence in that mix so that it gives him more margin for error with his command, and he can really let the stuff play up. Because I've had the Craig Kimbrells of the world, other premium closers, Camilo Duvall, and they don't throw perfect strikes, and they don't command the ball exceptionally well. But what they do is they tunnel their fastball and breaking ball off each other, which makes really hard zone decisions and swing decisions for the hitters, especially under pressure in late innings. And then they don't have to be perfect with their command, and it lets their premium stuff play up and generate positive, productive results instead of just focusing on perfect command and stressing out about that in a vacuum by itself.
That is the White Sox czar of pitching, Brian Bannister. We will have reaction after this ad break. Vinny Duber, let the people know about Leinenkugel.
It is summertime in Chicago, of course, and our friends north of the border have gone ahead and made the perfect beverage for enjoying during the warmest months of the year. That's, of course, Leinenkugel's Summer Shandy. It is a mix between lemonade. It is a mix between beer. They've smashed it all together and made the best drink that you can possibly have when you're out enjoying any of your favorite summertime activities. I was at the beach last week. What's perfect at the beach? Summer Shandy. I was biking down the lakefront the other day. What's a good thing to take a break with? Nothing better than a Summer Shandy. Maybe you're at the rate tailgating. Maybe you're at the zoo like I was walking around. No matter what your summertime activity, you're going to want it accompanied by a delicious Summer Shandy. And, of course, Liney's has all the other great varieties of beer as well. Herb is enjoying a Lakeside Cherry right now. They've got the Honey Vice. They've got the Berry Vice. They've got the Liney's Original. Whatever you choose, it's going to be absolutely delicious. Flavor life's simple moments with Leinenkugels, the official craft beer of the Chicago White Sox. Go to Liney.com/CHGO to find delivery options near you. That's LEINIE.com/CHGO. Or pick up Leinenkugels pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Leinenkugels, flavor the moment, celebrate responsibly. The Jacob Leinenkugel Brewing Company, Chippewa Falls.
Yes! And we want to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. They are here to elevate your summer. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from, with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit. So stop into the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff or select from quality lines like Cresco or Floracal. And since these two gentlemen were out on the links on Monday, I know my friend Herb probably enjoyed the Good News Tea Time disposable vape that brings a lemonade flavor that's perfect for the golf course. Since it was the CHGO Cookout Classic, we got another one coming up in August because we all need a little help staying loose on the green. We're going to go pick up some Simply Herb because he's Simply Herb at Sunnyside. And you can too by visiting sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify for 50% off your first 3 online purchases.
Amazing.
Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. I think you said amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
50% off your first 3 buys.
Oh, literally. I mean, the banner right there is wrong.
Stock up.
It's not 35%. It's 50%. The next 3 times you go. HICHGO. So have at it, folks. Brian Bannister, what stuck out most to you? I know you were the one desperately trying to ask about players that played for the White Sox and not these draft picks that were all shuttled in.
Well, the draft picks are, going to play for the next good White Sox team, you would imagine. At least that's the idea. So certainly worthy of following their development. But I think what stuck out to me was what we might see the rest of this year, whether that's with Garrett Crochet and how they might handle him if he does stay a member of the White Sox. But more interestingly to me, how they might handle some of the young pitchers who are currently at the upper levels of the minor leagues. Might we see them in the major leagues before the end of this year? Maybe. Obviously, Brian wasn't necessarily talking to those specific guys, but those guys who have been rising in now up to the AAA level, your Eaters and your Kai Bushes, and then, some of the guys who are still down at AA as well. Maybe we do see them as part of, like he said, the major league bullpen, and an interesting stance being taken by a guy who's, part of that brain trust in the front office. Maybe we do see Kai Bush pitch a few innings out of the major league bullpen in September, or Jake Eater pitch out of the major league bullpen in September. Again, they're going to have to determine what the best course of action is for those individual players. But to hear that as kind of a philosophy of sorts from Bannister was very interesting. I also, think that it continues to be very interesting, whether it's positive or negative for White Sox fans, what's going on with Michael Kopech, a guy who is still here, who, could be a candidate to be traded here in the next week. But if he's going to be here after this trade deadline, what does his future look like? Is he going to continue to be tried to develop into the White Sox closer, or is he going to morph into a multi-inning guy? Could he go back to the starting rotation, Sean, which I know you're always asking about? We'll see, but it seems like they really think he can thrive in that ninth inning role. But it has jumped out, obviously, because of what the results have been, but in contrast pretty starkly to the ease at which Garrett Crochet has made the opposite transition, how maybe non-linear Michael Kopech's journey from starting pitcher to effective major league closer, should he get there, might be. And to hear Bannister kind of give an update along the way, I found interesting. But I think what we might see from the minor leaguers the remainder of this year is probably what jumped out to me the most.
What jumped out to me is early in the conversation, he was talking about kind of the evolution of how pitchers have been used in his time and his dad's time. Floyd Bannister, who pitched the White Sox back in the 80s, like he said, his dad pitched 150 pitches easy, and now you get to the 105 mark and people are freaking out.
You get to the 80 pitch mark for John Gray and people start freaking out.
And so, like, he's more on my kind of wavelength there, where don't baby these guys, give them all they can handle. If you're seeing something that is troubling and concerning, of course, step in, take precautionary measures. But I think he's on the side of let these guys pitch, let them open it up and let them do their things. But also he said he wanted to get Garrett more quicker innings, throwing more of those cutters so he can have more quicker outs, so he's not doing 25 pitches. I think he did that in that one inning a couple weeks ago where he's just not getting out. No, 40 pitches that one outing where he had to get yanked after that because he couldn't get anybody out in that one. So he's advocating for easier outs, but also let these guys eat. Let these guys tell you with their performance the time to come out, not an arbitrary number of 100. Whereas I think most of us who watch baseball now, when we see a pitcher over 100 pitchers, like, oh, no, don't go to 120. You're going to throw his arm off, whatever. But some of these people, like Garrett Crochet, are just anomalies. You need to let them eat. And he says probably it's more harmful to have these guys rest more and not throw than it is for them to actually go out and throw. And so that was eye-opening. And I'm sure he's having these conversations with White Sox brass, but I was very good to that they don't have like this certain team mantra that you have to follow this, and this is what we're doing with Garrett Crochet. Because to me, it seems like the opposite. What he was saying is not really the opposite of what the White Sox are doing, but it's slightly off for what they're doing with Garrett Crochet. And it's good to have conversations that are differing from what the general manager or the other pitching coaches might be having. And that's good. That's good, healthy conversation that Brian Bannister and hopefully the rest of the White Sox people are having.
Did you want to pile on? It looked okay. It looked like you were going to say something. But yeah, 18 pitches in the first inning. Probably didn't love that.
No.
For Garrett Crochet. The title of this we haven't answered just yet. Is this Garrett Crochet's last start in the White Sox uniform? You mentioned trade deadline being a week away. There still should be one more start for Garrett Crochet if he's not traded by the 30th. Will he make another start in a White Sox uniform, or was this the last time we'll see him in Texas?
I think he will, and I think he'll probably make several more. Okay. I'm still leaning toward he's going to be around for the reasons I talked about earlier in the show. I'm not sure the valuations are there in terms of matching up between the White Sox and other teams out there. Yes, things can change, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them change. But if I had to make a call right now, you're asking me a yes or no question, I say that he will pitch and continue to pitch for the White Sox.
And before the Brian Bannister interview, I was always Garrett Crochet is going to be pitching for the White Sox, and I'm even more that way because he was talking like we're going to be using him later in the year, doing this, that, and the other. I'm like, he didn't even broach the subject of him being on another team. I know he's not the ultimate decision maker or that thing, but it seemed like he was full steam ahead with Garrett Crochet. So, yeah.
I would love it. I mean, I will probably be sick doing our emergency podcast if they do trade Garrett Crochet, so I'd like to avoid that at all costs. I will say that it won't be his last, but I don't know if Monday. I think he's
scheduled to pitch Sunday, which is the finale of this weekend's series against the Mariners.
I think he'll make that start for sure. I think that's a yes, but I don't know what's going to happen on Monday and Tuesday, and I think I could make a lot of money if I did know.
Well, I'll say this. Nobody seems to know. I mean, you read the national reports, you read any number of local reports about any of the teams who might be buying or selling. There just seems to be a lot of uncertainty about what's going to happen right now. I think most folks are probably leaning toward it being a pretty quiet, I mean, today at least, where we are at the moment, just because there's so many teams, especially in the National League, but really all over baseball, they're just kind of right in the middle, and I just don't know, as Herb and Sean gesture towards our Cubs guys, they're one of them, certainly. But I just don't know how motivated. Like, we heard report over the weekend that the St. Louis Cardinals, very interested in Eric Fetty, right? How motivated is a team that is in the middle there that could go from the top wild card spot down to completely out of it in 2 weeks, going to be to give up a big prospect haul for a pitcher? I mean, when they're in the position they're in, there are obviously teams out there who are in a better position, your Dodgers, your Orioles, your Yankees, who we talked about earlier. And so maybe there is some action from those teams, but if there are so many buyers out there because of the new rules with the new expanded playoffs and everything, how many of those teams are going to be willing to push their chips all in?
I think the Cardinals are one of those teams that would, just because of the age of their team. Arenado, Goldschmidt, that rotation is, I think, all a part of AARP. Do you have to enroll into AARP?
I mean, I'm in AARP. I'm not 50 yet.
Okay.
They just start sending you stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean,
only $16 a year.
That's not even that. They were probably just ahead of the game.
Yeah.
They're just probably, they have schedules that they stick to, and they're like, oh, got to sign up for AARP. All right, let's take a break to avoid this conversation. But I think the Cardinals, it makes sense for them, for Eric Fetty. If it was like the Pirates, because they're kind of young, and you don't know really how much you could trust them, but you kind of think that Goldschmidt and Arenado will at least be producing at least come September. Let's take a break. We'll let you know about our friends over at Ray Chevrolet. Choose Ray Chevrolet as your first draft pick and find the right new Chevy and price for you. Visit our partner this July to shop the Freedom to Save sales event going on all month long at their location on Route 12 in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. As one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories. Plus, you can find the perfect tailgating vehicle. Right now, get $12,000 off MSRP on a new 2024 Chevrolet Silverado, or lease the new 2024 Chevy Trax for only $188 a month for 24 months, or cruise into July your own way and shop over 125 of their vehicles priced under $20,000. And if you've heard of Ray Chevrolet, then you've also heard of Ray's Price Promise. They're guaranteed to make your next vehicle more affordable than ever, with no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees ever. That means the incredible prices we're talking about now, you can expect to see the same when you are shopping Ray Chevy in-store or online. So shop the Freedom to Save sales event all month long by visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive.
Today we had Dave, Patrick, Nancy, John, Kevin, and two people named Terry and Jason. Not Jason Terry, the former NBA player, but two separate people who are named Terry and Jason become diehards. Why don't you become one right today? Because you get podcasts and live shows every day from every team. Premium written content from people like Vinny Duber on allchgo.com. And if you do become a diehard, you get a free t-shirt like I'm wearing right now. You get this box set is right in front of me with stickers, your membership card, et cetera, and 20% off of events, 20% off of merchandise. Events like August 9th, when the CHGO White Sox crew goes out to Guaranteed Rate Field for our last takeover of the year. We've done two before where the White Sox lost to the Blue Jays and they lost to the Dodgers. Now they're going to beat the Cubs on August 9th with fireworks that night. You can join Sean and myself, and Vinny will stop by. He stopped by the Dodgers one and said, what's up to my peoples? And so if you want to join us, become a diehard, you get 20% off of that. Also, I am reminded that Bears Camp is open. And with Bears Camp being open, that means that CHGO Bears tailgates will be starting too, so you get 20% off of those. And also, we golfed on Monday for the Cookout Classic. That was the inaugural Cookout Classic. The second annual Kickoff Classic is August 23rd. If you want to go, you get 20% off of that if you become a diehard. So all these things. You get 20% off. Why don't you become a diehard today, like all those people did today? And you get dope merch for all the teams, free shirt when you become a member, and access to our members-only Discord where we talk a bunch of stuff. Not only the teams, we have a food channel in there, a gaming channel, lifestyle channel, whatever you want, pets. So in our CHGO Discord, you become a diehard today. You get access to all those things, and also you help us out and help us continue to grow this great channel. So allchgo.com, become a diehard today.
Nuck's looking slick, too. I like the little green update he's got on that Kickoff Classic little thing right there. I don't know. It looks nice. And speaking of the
that football helmet obviously doesn't fit over his head. So,
big ass head.
Yeah. He's got a big head.
Should put over the one.
There you go. Yeah, right at the top.
That's true.
Protect the finger.
Yeah.
We'll reach out to Eric.
Why is it work? And why? I understand it's Kickoff Classic, but you don't wear a helmet out in golfing.
I can. Why don't we do that? It's
who's going to stop
Cog
you?
Hill. Yeah, who's going to
stop you, Herb?
Yeah, the fine people at Cog Hill with their uptight rules. No, come on. I'll wear a football helmet on the course. And speaking of the Discord too, Jared, who I think is in the chat as well, said Andrew Benintendi will be forever linked to Sean Anderson in my brain. So I will always be very proud of that. So I'm happy to hear that. We did get some news from Daryl Van Schouwen, who is in Arlington, Texas. Speaking with Pedro Grifol today, there was news on both Mike Clevenger and Yohan Moncada. Yohan Moncada will not be returning anytime soon, as he was returned from his rehab assignment in the Arizona Complex League. The same with Mike Clevenger, whose scheduled start for AAA Charlotte on Tuesday was canceled and was also returned from his rehab assignment. Pedro saying Moncada's rehab was stopped with some anticipated soreness. We'll reevaluate that. We don't think that we don't think it's anything wrong. Everything I've heard about that injury, even though you're healed, it still feels like similar to what it felt like when it first happened, but it's not. So it's almost like he wants to be sure he has no pain. And Grifol saying it's erring on the side of caution, quote, there's nothing we feel he's taken a step back, end quote. And they'll reevaluate both Moncada and Clevenger as they go. I think the interesting part of Daryl's thing is saying, kind of hoping Moncada could get back before the trade deadline next Tuesday, because they thought maybe we could trade him.
I don't know if they would have been able to do that in just, a few short days of a tryout, especially if we're hearing, some concern to maybe use some other folks' words over Luis Robert Jr.'s health, and he's a guy who's now been back a while and not exactly looking like he's at full power in terms of what he's capable of doing on the baseball field, but at full health, if we're hearing concerns about his injury history, Yohan Moncada's would only be less than 2 weeks old by the time he come back after the All-Star break. But, sucks for the player, right? Because, if it really is the way Pedro is describing it there, it's almost like it's as much mental and as much what you feel comfortable doing as it is what's actually physically holding you back. My mind again goes to Robert, who after both of the hip flexor injuries that he's had over the past few years came back and, talked about and was asked questions about being, how comfortable are you going full go? Is there tentativeness in feeling, oh no, this is going to happen again? We've kind of heard Eloy Jimenez, be described as dealing with some similar feelings with all of the injuries, particularly to his lower body that he has had over the years as well. So if you're Yohan Moncada and you've got the doctors telling you, man, you're doing a great job, physically you look great, you're ready to go, and then you go out there and you still feel a little something, are you going to be able to play the game the way that you know that you're capable of playing it? So that's tough. On the Clevenger front, man, it really just seems like he has just not gotten it together really at all since joining the White Sox this year. I would imagine that the strange lead up to his season had something to do with it, the fact that he did not have a spring training that everybody goes through. But here you hear, Bannister mentioned that type of thing earlier, a late signee really taking half of a year to get ready to go. Here's Mike Clevenger not really making even any progress on that front. Obviously, physical issues are part of that equation. He doesn't appear to be at full strength, but then you throw that stamina part on top of it, and man, it does make it really challenging to seemingly, in his case, do much of anything that he's used to being able to do.
I would just, at this point, what's the use of either of them playing for the rest of the year? Team is really bad. Both players are experiencing discomfort in their respective injuries. So when are they going to be able to be ramped up and feel comfortable with their injuries that they're ready to play? Like, as you're saying, Vinny, like, it's going to be a mind thing for Moncada to get over the things that he's feeling, because your body is telling you a thing that this feels like the same. And if you're Moncada with the injury history that he's had, do you want to push it? Do you want to, well, firstly, would you want to push it to a team that's on track to have the most losses in Major League Baseball? Or do you want to go and get healthy after this year and maybe have which is going to be a free agent year for Moncada, be that thing and be, hey, I'm 100% healthy in this offseason, and you might have to do extra things for your team and show a workout in the offseason, but get your body ready so you can get your contract from another team, instead of, hey, if I push this and maybe I'm not ready and not healthy, I'm going to put myself on the shelf for the offseason, and now teams are going to be like, I'm not signing. You're always hurt now. So I can understand if I was the White Sox, I'm like, you guys are both not healthy. It's damn near August. What would you contribute anyways? We're shutting both of you guys down. Have a good time in Arizona. Do whatever you need to do, and we'll see you guys. Well, we'll see neither of you guys ever again.
Well, yeah, I mean, Pedro said he's healthy. So I guess that's the biggest thing that I would at least contend with Moncada, is especially seeing what he did last year, coming back around July 25th, posting a 114 weighted runs created plus, looking like Moncada, especially with free agency coming up. I think he has all of the reason in the world to get back for August and September, because the White Sox aren't going to be picking up that $24 million option to say, hey, look, I am healthy. Look at me playing in Major League Baseball games. I don't think him staying on the IL, especially when your manager is saying he is healthy, it's a mental thing that he has to get over. I think that would be the worst option for him to not play for the rest of 2024. He needs to play in 2024 to at least revitalize that free agent market.
If he doesn't play for the rest of the year, what kind of contract does he get next year? Even if he's 100% fine come spring training, what sort of contract does he get? He's getting a minor league deal, right?
I think it's the same thing. I
He's
think
not
either way,
a minor league.
He's
if the last time a team saw him play was when he crumpled into a heap in the second week of the season.
If that's the last thing they saw,
right? That's what I mean.
Yeah. Sorry, but if he comes back in August and September, that's fine.
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha,
absolutely.
But when you say this, I go back to the Derrick Rose thing, where when he got his second injury and he didn't want to come back because he didn't feel like he was really healthy, but the doctor was saying, you're healed, you're good. And he didn't want to come back, and he never really came back for the Bulls. And for the White Sox, it doesn't really make sense for either of these two players to come back and play on their team, because it's a youth movement. What will either of these two players do for the White Sox in their 2 months that they have remaining? Nothing. I mean, you're just going to say they're going to earn their money, cool. But I'm always of the thing, this is a sunk cost. You've already paid Moncada this year. Those checks are still going to go out. Who cares what he does in this last 2 months of that? Now, for him, yes, it makes more sense. But the White Sox, it makes zero sense for either of these two players to play.
Well, if Moncada's healthy and he feels capable of playing, which apparently is not the case at the moment, but before the end of the year, well, I mean, why? Yeah, let him play, right? I mean, you're not calling up. I mean, unless you have big plans to call up Brian Ramos and you're thrilled to see what Brian Ramos is going to do over the last month and a half of the season.
Or you call up, Lenine to play third and then Brooks to play short. I don't know if you're committing to Brooks Baldwin.
Sure, but I guess I'm just saying, if there's a spot for you on Moncada, again, you just talked about what does it matter for the team? What does it matter if he plays, right? I mean, obviously you could if there are young players who could fit there, sure. But if there aren't, and it's between Moncada or Nick Senzel at third base in September, like you would like to think that they would be, nice enough to a guy that has been a part of their organization for a long time to go ahead and let him try to show other teams what he can do for a last month of a lost season.
Yeah, and I kind of hear like what do the White Sox gain from that? But I mean, he still posted one WAR at the end of last year when he came back from July. I think it would be interesting to at least to see what he can do. He looked great in the World Baseball Classic. He looked great to start 2023. He looked great to end 2023. He looked great to start 2024. He's looked fine as a baseball player. It's just you've seen him like once every 6 months, and that's been the biggest issue with Yohan Moncada. With Clevenger, though, I mean, again, we heard when this injury first happened, it was fluid in his elbow. Now he's dealing with a neck injury. I don't know. It really doesn't seem like Mike Clevenger's ever going to pitch in a White Sox uniform again. Am I wrong in this feeling?
I'm fine with that.
I think they'll probably give him every opportunity, but every opportunity is now ending with more question marks, it seems like, than it starts with. He's going out there and not being able to get through 4 or 5 innings of a AAA game, whether that's due to physical issues that he's dealing with that have since cropped up, or the stamina from not being, given a spring training. Regardless of what it is, he's not able to get the job done right now to even get to the point where him being in the rotation we're questioning what purpose it serves.
Now, what you're saying about if there is a third baseman or somebody else to take Moncada's spot there, that would make more sense. There in the Mike Clevenger conversation, there are going to be people who are starting pitchers to take a starting rotation spot down in the minors and not have the Mike Clevengers of the world there, even if you lose Fetty and you lose Crochet.
What's up with Dart? Is Dart still in his minor league?
Minor leaguing.
Let's go.
He's rehabbing.
Dart's going to probably replace Mike Clevenger.
He'll definitely. I would think he'd definitely be.
Oh my God! 7 2/3 innings, and he's got a 0 ERA. Call him up right
Davis
now.
Martin time.
He's in Charlotte. Let's go. Get Dart Martin up here. Stat. How does a guy with this much experience have a 7.11 ERA in 7 innings at Winston-Salem?
It's convenient,
but then shuts out everyone at Charlotte. Whatever. But Dart's coming.
He'll be here. You will see him before the end of the year. Absolutely.
Yes. And maybe even Matt Foster. Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Yes. Let's go. All right. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. We'll be back tomorrow. There'll be more White Sox and Rangers baseball that we get to talk about. That's Vinny Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can read his work at allchgo.com. That's Herb Lawrence, our CHGO White Sox community leader. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show. I am Sean Anderson. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.